Good morning. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Newham Economic Development Authority, meeting on Tuesday, June 10, 2014, at 7:30 a.m. Please note that we do have a quorum. The first item of business is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 13th. Your desire?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded approving the minutes from the regular EDA meeting held on May 13th, 2014. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Item 3A, conduct a public hearing for the issuance of the sale of housing facilities revenue refunding bonds for Ridge Bay Project Series 2014. Heather? Ryan?
Well, this is a refinancing of existing facilities. This EDA and the city approved the original financing for the project. They came back in 2006 and refinanced at that point in time, and they believe the interest rates are appropriate for them to refinance again this time. We're here to hold a public hearing. Should there be anybody in the audience that wishes to comment, either for or against said refinancing. And I did not receive any written documents or any written communications from anybody with any concerns. Reg, anything?
No.
So we have not received anything at this point. And
Anyone?
from the looks of it, there's no public comments, here this morning.
All in favor of the motion to close the public hearing for the issuance of the sale of housing facilities revenue refunding bonds,
Need a
Series
motion.
2014?
Need a motion.
Yeah, I'm asking the motion, yes.
Okay.
To close the public hearing. All in favor? of the
I
motion?
would make a motion.
And the second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for the issues and sale of housing facilities revenue bonds, Series 2014. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. The hearing is closed.
At the next meeting, in the July meeting, we'll actually deal with the official resolution, which kickstarts it. They will be going to the city on June 17th for the city's resolution.
Okay.
Then they'll follow up with the EDA, and then it should be basically all over with.
And that meeting with the city council is next Tuesday, a week from today, the 17th.
Yes.
Item 4 is the staff administrative activities for the month of May. Heather?
Start with the Section 8 program. Note on the first 2 pages of your report, we have 109 vouchers on the program for the month of May. Payments, disbursements from HUD have exceeded payments to landlords by $735 for the month. Administrative fee expenses exceeded disbursements by $1,473 for the month. I believe that was due to the fact that we had 3 payroll cycles that month. So expenses were a little higher than normal. Note on pages 3 and 4, the unaudited balances as of the end of May. Note 105 vouchers as of June 1st and a waiting list of 91. We have completed our waiting list purge and we've gotten that back to normal. We are only taking in applications from local Brown County applicants, so we don't expect that to
Shoot up.
skyrocket again.
Okay.
Staff just started issuing vouchers again. In taking a look at things after the June payments, we're now halfway through the funding year, and we have spent it's either right under or right over 50% of our funding for the year, so we're right where we need to be. We do know of some people going off the program coming up, so we want to issue vouchers to replace those families and just try and stay at an even keel for the rest of the year.
Okay. Is funding coming in as usual, as normal on this?
Yeah, now that the budget's been passed and we know what we're getting for the year, we're able to look at what we have left, divide it by how many months we have left, and we kind of know what we should be spending for the remainder of the year. The goal is to spend all of the money we get,
Correct.
so we get the highest score on our CMAP.
Right.
So that's our goal.
And we seem to be on track with that.
We seem to be right where we need to be, yeah.
Said another way, our goal is to assist as many people as possible with the
Right.
funding we receive.
Correct.
Well, that's what we said.
It's a little bit.
Oh, yes. Any questions regarding the Section 8 program for Heather? Okay, Heather, next item.
All right, moving on then to the public housing program. Note on pages 6 and 7 of your report, the monthly and year-to-date program activity. As of May 31st, revenues have exceeded expenditures by $16,278. Note the cash assets summary. Broadway House currently has 2 vacancies with 29 on the waiting list. One of those vacancies has a new tenant lined up. We just need to replace the flooring. So should be moving in mid-June. The other one that's vacant is a 2-bedroom, and we are advertising for that vacancy. Family units are fully leased with 18 on the waiting list. We did a waiting list purge of this program as well, and that's been completed, so those waiting lists have come down a little bit as well. We did have Laraway Roofing come and do an inspection of the Broadway House roof. I was expecting a report from Laraway Roofing in time for this meeting, but I didn't receive it. I did speak with Dean on the phone. He indicated he thought there were some repairs we should make, but that we didn't need to replace the roof quite yet. And he was going to, in the report, give me his estimate for the remaining life of the roof, so I can use that for planning purposes. Hopefully if we do some preventative maintenance, in the next couple years, we can stretch out the life of that roof a little longer. It's about 17 years old right now. So, one item that just came up when maintenance staff was out doing the spring inspections of the family units. We have wood decks on the 2 single-family homes. They have a patio up on the upper level, and in order to get down to the yard, there's a deck and steps going down. Those are deteriorating. The railings are getting loose and wobbly. We either need to look at making some repairs there or replacing them. They are original. They're 30 years old. So I guess I'm looking for some direction on your wishes there, if you want us to repair them at this time or if you think replacing them would be warranted. If we opt to replace them, I would like to take quotes on wood and also on maintenance-free materials just to see what the cost difference would be. I'd have to look too to see if the estimated life on the maintenance-free material is longer. I think we've gotten the use out of the wood decks. It looks like the estimated life on those is 20 to 30 years, depending on the climate you're in. So, I think we've gotten to the end of the life on the decks. If we repair them, we might be able to get a couple more years out of them. So I guess I'm looking for some direction which way you want us to go on that.
Any comments, questions?
I think a 30-year-old deck is really at the limit.
Right. Would you believe one would last
We don't
that
do
long?
any staining of the decks either. I mean, they're
Don't?
just, no.
Just let them go au natural?
Yeah, and they made it 30 years, so,
Oh, imagine if we would have kept maintenance on them.
I assume we have funding for those types of improvements.
we have capital funds available. We have only spent $10,000 or $12,000 of our 2003 grant, and we have our entire, 2013 grant, and we have our entire 2014 grant available.
Perhaps it would be a good idea for Heather to get quotes on
Yeah.
replacing.
Right.
Rather than repairing.
Yep.
And
that
if, if they're
consensus?
high, you can always take a look at repairing.
Repairing.
So there are options that exist for something like this.
Yeah, I anticipate a new deck to be, $4,000 or $5,000. So to do 2, would be around 10 maybe.
Let's just wait until we get the quotes.
So,
That way,
yep,
we won't put any numbers out there that might be misconstrued.
okay.
Yes.
Moving on If there's no further questions, we'll move on to the EDA fund. Note revenue and expenditure status, cash assets of $508,493. Revenues did decrease in May due to the loan to the TIF fund that was approved at a prior meeting.
Correct.
One other note on the EDA fund, we did mention this morning, we are closing on the Lee Avenue lot on July 7th.
July 7th, yes.
And I'll probably come to you at the July meeting and ask for recommendations of what you'd like us to do with that money. We have a loan to the city for the Milford Heights addition. We have TIF loans that could be repaid. Or I'm sorry, we could make another payment to the TIF fund. Reg and I had talked about a couple options.
Perhaps you should review the minutes. I seem to recall there was, I thought when we authorized the sale of that lot, there was some plan for it, but maybe my memory's faulty, but perhaps the minutes should be reviewed for that purpose.
That'd be a
Yeah.
good idea. Check that out.
My recollection was it was gonna go towards helping the Milford Heights subdivision be successful in whichever manner. If that
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
that money could be utilized to build another house or pay debt, that was not probably determined, but just put back into Milford Heights.
I can go back, though, and look at when we proposed putting that lot up for sale, if we had been specific on use of the funds, but I think it was,
Anyone else interested in looking at lots at Milford? Have we had any inquiries?
no, we just recently had the sale of the one across from the park that's closed.
Correct.
But no new inquiries that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
And the existing two homes are under construction, so there's some activity out there.
Yes.
Century 21 has been asking me when we'll be setting the sale price on the two houses, and I just feel like it's still
Too early.
too early.
Correct.
It's so hard to estimate, and we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot in the past trying to jump the gun on that, so I'm gonna give it a little more time yet.
Good idea.
If there's no further questions there, we'll move on to the rental property fund. Note on page 12 of your report, revenue and expenditure status, cash assets of $59,695. And finally, the Garden Terrace apartment reports are on page 13 through 15 of your report. Garden Terrace has 81 units leased, 65 on the waiting list. They currently have 7 vacancies, which is unusually high for Garden Terrace. 4 just came back the first of the month. So just to give you an overview, those need some rehab before they can be re-rented. Out of the other 3, one is the one-bedroom handicap unit that is still vacant. It's ready to go. And the other 2, they are just finishing the rehab on those, and they'll be able to rent those out, but they do not currently have anyone lined up for those units. Gina has been advertising in the Shopper and the Journal. I did have a conversation with Lloyd Management to see what they thought we needed to do to get those units filled. One suggestion they had is offering some kind of a promotion like first month's rent free, or offering a new tenant to enter into a shorter term lease. They've done that in some of their other properties where they'll offer a 6-month lease, but they'll charge an extra $100 a month for rent for the additional staff time involved if it would turn over after 6 months. So I wanted to bring those options to the board for discussion and direction, so I can go back to Lloyd and let them know if we're open to any of those ideas.
Well, I think with the competition that exists out there for apartments, as, you know, we're seeing another one coming on stream August 15th, that maybe there'll be more of a competitive element that we need to take a look at Garden Terrace 1 and 2.
We do get a lot of calls for people looking for short-term leases. So You know, I think that might be something we'd like to explore. Still take people off the waiting list in order, but offer them the two choices.
One thing I have a question about is the number on the waiting list, which has really been static. And if it's a true waiting list, the apartments should be full.
Yeah, and that's, every apartment building struggles with that, where we have, in Oak Hills Nursing Home, we were just talking about the same thing. People that want to be on the list for when they want to move, so they'll be at the top, but they're not ready to move. You can't really force them to go off the waiting list.
No, the other, the other thing that stands out to me is the number on the waiting list for Broadway House and the family units, and it appears that that list has seasonal fluctuation, plus it's probably purged.
Yeah, we usually purge the waiting lists in May and November for our programs. I don't know what Gina's process is over at Garden Terrace. You know, this is a time of year people usually want to move, so I'm surprised that she doesn't have
Yeah.
people lined up for those apartments.
I just wonder how well managed that waiting list is.
I can ask her if she's done a purge lately. And, you know, with all the vacancies she's had, I'm sure she's called many of them, and I'm sure I would imagine the response she's getting is, we're not ready to move just yet, or there's a certain, they want to be in a certain building and they're waiting for the right, you know, they want a corner apartment. I know she's got some people like that want a specific unit, and they're willing to wait. But I can ask her if she does a waiting list purge, and when's the last time that's been done. Did you want me to go back to Lloyd Management with,
I would think it might be a
Anything,
good
or-
idea. What's the rest of the commission think? Shorter lease periods?
I think we ought to study the market and see, you know, what's being offered elsewhere, and
okay.
it is a more competitive environment now. So I think you have to adapt.
And I think that was our concern initially when we saw the one across from Hy-Vee and now the one up on Highland. And of course, we got the one that could be going out on the north end as well.
Yeah, and there's another one downtown that's, are they
Right.
breaking ground this summer?
At the present time, there's only one that actually has, you know, people able to reside in the structure itself. So, you know, if all four were to occur, I think the competition would be, you know, probably much greater. So, I think, you know, we have, you know, some reasons why there's 7 vacancies. We're still working on fixing 2 up,
Yes.
and we're going to be fixing 4 up. So, you know, it's not in our best interest to lease them out, you know, 2 months ahead of time so we can then rip the carpets up and you know, clean everything up and repaint and do that sort of thing. So, I guess I would agree that we probably could do a market and research little project to see what is going on here. But from this, if we had cleaned up the 4 units and we're done with the 2, and we're sitting there and we can't get anybody interested, you know, then you know, obviously some action I think would be required. But I'm not right at this point, not too concerned. I mean,
Well, how
you've
long
got-
does it take
you've
them
got
to clean
blips.
these up?
Hmm?
How long does it take them to clean it up in,
Well, you know,
I mean, if it's, you know, one thing is 2 weeks.
because we are a government agency, we have to take bids on everything. So you
Right.
have to, you know, send them out, give people time to submit a bid. I mean, it does take time. Once you get the low bidder, then you have to get the job scheduled, wait until they can come and do it. So, you know, it can take a good month to get an apartment ready when you have to go through those processes. Same thing for painting. So, you know, I would suspect that's a lot of the delay is just the bidding process. Some of the units were long-term tenants and needed significant
Yeah, right.
work. I believe one of the units also had previously had a smoker before the building went smoke-free, and then you're doing additional work there as well, so. One unit's online, the other two will be very soon, and then the four that and three of those she knew about. One was a last-minute tenant passed away, so that was unexpected.
Right.
So she'll be working on those four over the course of the next month or so and get those back online. The good news is she has no move-out notices pending at this
Right,
point. So I'm sure they're
Yeah.
ready for a little bit of a break there. They've
Correct.
been working very hard.
Well, stay in touch with them, and, once in a while,
Okay.
a
So
little
for
prod might help, too.
For now, we want to just leave things as is, but maybe do some further research. Is that,
Yes,
okay?
okay. Any other questions you have of,
Just from a philosophical perspective, the issue of short-term leases applies 12 months out of the year. It's not even specific to this particular situation. Would the EDA be interested in shorter-term leases as compared to year-long that we currently have? And, I mean, the requests do come in, and do we want to address that need? If the requests aren't coming in,
that is a moot point.
they may be finding it elsewhere.
Yeah.
But is that something we are interested in as the owners of the building?
Comments?
I would rather have a short-term lease than offering, a discount on it, I guess is my opinion. If that's what we need to do.
Sometimes you get, people who haven't been to the community before, they move in and say, I just like 6 months to get the lay of the land and find out, housing and then make a decision. So, I mean, I personally don't see an issue in those situations. But the rules were set by the EDA as to how long a term the rental could be.
Any other comments? Taking a look at shorter-term leases? Anybody objection to that?
No.
Why don't we take a look at it then, please, Heather?
So is that something you'd like me to bring back to the
Oh, yes.
July meeting
Yes.
for a vote?
Very much so.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I think the only thing I would say about the shorter term leases is that because of the turnover expenses, that perhaps it'd be a little bit of a
Premier,
higher monthly rate
right.
than a
Yeah.
12-month lease. I don't think it needs to be extraordinary, but
Yeah, and Lloyd's recommendation was $100 a month is
yeah.
what they've done in other properties. And really, if someone moved in, rented for 6 months and moved out, we shouldn't need to paint. We should only need to go in and shampoo the carpet.
Correct,
So,
yeah.
might be a good option.
Okay, so we'll look for a report then down the road on this. Any other comments? Hearing none, the motion to accept the report would be in order.
I'd make a motion accepting the EDA administrative activities for the month of May.
A second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and second accepting the Economic Development Authority administrative activities for the month of May 2014. Any comments or questions from anyone? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried. Consider a resolution approving the public housing operating budget. Heather?
Okay, this is something we do on an annual basis. The public housing operating budget covers the day-to-day operations of the EDA's 50 public housing units, 40 units at the Broadway House high-rise, and the 10 scattered site family units. We would need to submit the budget to HUD once it's been approved. We work with our fee accountancy neighbor to put the budget together into the format that HUD desires. This budget is primarily a status quo budget compared to the current fiscal year. Some slight adjustments in the different categories that we'll go through. Capital funds are not a part of this budget. That is separate. Just a few items to point out. As far as our rental income, overall, we, it looks like have seen a 2% increase compared to the current budget based on the last 6 months of activity. Operating expenditures, looking at about a 3% increase compared to the current budget, budgeting a 2 to 3% salary adjustment based on a cost of living projection. That's just based on conversations I had with Reg about other union employees and the expected cost of living increase they'll be seeing. And then our employees typically follow similar to that pattern. The tenant services fund we're maintaining at the current budget level. The one item I did want to point out is under utilities. Looks like they are budgeting about a 13% increase compared to the current budget based on the last 12 months of usage. And I did talk with public utilities staff just to check if that sounded right. We use primarily city steam to heat our building in the winter. We only switch over to the boiler on really cold days when, you know, it's below zero outside. We did have a fairly brutal winter, and so I'm hoping that our actual numbers will come in under budget, but based on the last year, those are the numbers we're using. So
It would be a 13% increase.
we're budgeting for the increase and hoping to come in under budget.
Budget,
So,
okay.
I think we're all hoping for a better winter this year than what we saw. Maintenance and operation, 1% increase there. Again, 2 to 3% cost of living adjustment for the maintenance technician for payroll. General expenses, about a 5% increase compared to the current budget. Routine expenses, 5% increase. Really the only thing that jumped out at me was that utility increase, but everything else is pretty minor. Looks like we are anticipating a surplus of about $16,000 as of the end of June, which is our fiscal year end, so. Any
Does
questions?
that money stay with us then, the 16,000?
Yes, that's in our
Just so-
operating
Just so
fund.
people understand that that's part of our net bottom line. Okay, and in having gone through that long list of things, does anyone have any questions? What is routing, total routing expense, line 480? Mine dropped off there.
Routine expenses.
Yeah.
What are-
Like what is a routine expense?
Uh,
That's not covered in the other parts of the,
I think that would be like the snow removal that we contract out, garbage removal, those sorts of things.
oh,
Pest control.
Well, that's a total line.
because that's under ordinary maintenance and
Oh.
operation.
You are correct.
Line 480 is the summation. Add 210, 250, 320, 360, and 400. So if you look under those line items,
Yeah.
you'll see what makes up routine.
Mm-hmm.
210 is
Right,
administrative expenses.
yeah.
So it's not a separate line item?
No,
it's a
it's a
compilation.
subtotal.
That's what we need to remember, is that it is,
Average of everything.
yes. Okay, ready for the motion? To approve the,
I'll make a
The
motion to
resolution.
approve the
yeah.
June 30th, 2015 budget.
Second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved in second, adopting the resolution, waive the reading, approving the public housing operating budget for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2015. Heather, would you please call the roll?
All right, Commissioner Berg?
Yes.
Commissioner Gugesberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Gusted?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmitz?
Yes,
Commissioner Ship,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallers,
Yes.
and President Rockbam.
Yes, the resolution is carried. Thank you. The next item is 5B, consider approving the plans and specs, opening bid for the public housing electrical upgrade project. Heather?
Okay, if you recall, I had mentioned at the prior two meetings, some issues we've come across in our family unit rentals. The first issue we came across was an outlet that needed to be replaced, and we found the wires had gotten hot. So talked to building official about, whether that's something we needed to explore further. Is it something we should be concerned about? The recommendation was yes. This was a near miss for a fire. So we explored replacing the outlets in the family units, and then shortly after that, in a different house, we had to replace a light fixture, and we found brittle and cracked wiring in there as well. So looked at replacing any original light fixtures onto the project, as long as we were looking at having an electrician come in. So we have added that to the project, and Elwood's here to answer if you have any questions about what we're seeing in the houses. The recommendation is to take care of the problem now that we've become aware of it. So I am proposing to do that, looking at if the project is approved, taking bids and coming back to you at the July meeting with those bids for approval, and having the project completed this fall.
Elwood, would you have any comments relative to this?
It's pretty self-explanatory that some of the fixtures are coming up bad, and like you said, that outlet and the light fixture itself was a near miss on something happening in one of the units.
Would it make a difference to the quality of the fixture or something like that? That would be,
It's all possible. It could be due to that it was just a bad run of wire at that time.
the way it looks in there is peeling back.
Right. Without knowing, the age of the fixtures and stuff.
Yeah.
If they had problems with it or not at that time.
Well, Heather has a proposed timeline for for this. The approved plans and specs, and set a bid opening for July 1st, and opening bids on the 1st, and then awarding the bid on their next meeting on the 8th.
I should mention another, something else that came up in conversation, and we're also including in the project, is each house has a hardwired smoke detector. And again, as long as we're having an electrician in there, those all need to be replaced. They should be replaced every 7 to 10 years, and I don't think any of them have been replaced. The houses are 30 years old.
Okay.
So we would like to include that in the project as well.
Is that included in the 10 to 15,000?
Yeah, I'm estimating the project costs to be between $10,000 to $15,000, $1,000 to $1,500 per house, and we have 10 houses. So, in looking at the cost of the project, I was a little concerned
Right.
at spending this kind of money, but it is highly recommended by the building official that we
Sure.
move forward.
And I think we'd just wise to follow their advice. I do, in this case.
The oldest residence is 30 years.
They all were built in 1983, so 31 years.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion approving the plans and specifications for the public housing electrical upgrade project and set a bid opening date for July 1, 2014.
A second?
I'll second it.
Oh, it's been moved in second, approving plans and specifications for the public housing electrical upgrade project, and set the bid opening for July 1st of 2014. Any comments or questions at this time? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion is carried. The item 5C, authorizing payment of public housing program claim. Anything in there, Heather, that looked, needs questioning or answering?
I don't, unless any of you do.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we authorize payment.
Second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved in second, authorizing payment of the public housing program claims for June 10th, 2014, and order filed. Comments or questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. The last item is the Mr. Toll's report for the month of May 2014. Any questions or comments about it? Notice that Mr. Gugelsberg's is mentioned in the second paragraph.
So is Mr. Waller's.
Yes, so is Mr. Yes. Yeah. Okay. A motion to approve the report?
I'll make a motion to approve the, or accept the New Ulm Economic Development Corporation Coordinator's report regarding the activities for the month of May.
Second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded accepting the New Ulm Economic Development Corporation Coordinator's report regarding activities during the month of May 2014. Any comments or questions? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Anything else that should come before the commission at this time? Any comments from either Mr. Gramitz or Mr. Vorwerk regarding anything? Hearing none, I declare the meeting adjourned at 8:07 a.m.